How did you end up on that flight that you got to talk with? Was it the CNO or something like that to get your approval request approved? You were trying to get from one place to another. You were trying to get to Newport, I think.
Oh, that was when I was looking for a change of station. Yeah, that was, you probably know what happened. I was in Norfolk, Virginia, and I was trying to get stationed closer to home.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in Norfolk, Virginia, and I was trying to get closer to home because I was worried about mom and dad. I'd like to be closer to home so I could be closer to home. So anyway, I was headed for Washington, D.C. Yeah, that was it. I was going to Washington, D.C. But I was trying to get there, and I was having a hell of a time getting a hop. So I went up to operations, and there was an Air Force guy there, and there was also a DC-3 there. I put two and two together, and I thought, So I went to operations, and there was a young Air Force captain who's flying that airplane. I said, is there any chance of going with you guys to Washington? And he kind of looked at me and he said, okay, he said, go out and get on the airplane and just stay out of the way. I said, yes, sir, thank you. So I went out and got on the DC-3 and waited about 20 minutes. This line of cars pulls in. They were like the Beast and the rest of them, big limousines and shit.
Yeah.
Well, it was the Undersecretary of the Navy.
Jeez.
So I'm sitting there waiting to go, and he came on the airplane, and everybody was saluting going on all over the place. I never saw so much friggin' brass in my life. So anyway, he comes on, gets on the airplane, and he walks by me, and I'm standing up near the back door because I just want to stay out of the way. He got on the airplane, he looked at me, and he says, "How are you today, Ensign?" And I said, "Fine, sir." And he went up and he sat in one of the overstuffed chairs. It was a plush airplane. And so they started the engines up right away. We taxied out, and off we went. And I'm thinking, I am never going to be able to get a situation like this again, ever. So I got up and I went over up to where he was, and I said, "Mr. Secretary?" And he said, he was reading a newspaper, and he put the newspaper down, and he says, "Yeah, Ensign." And I said, "Do you have a minute, sir?" And he says, "Sit down." So I sat down, and I told him about mom and dad, how old they were, and that I wanted to get closer to home, but I ended up being sent 500 miles further south, away from home. I said, I'm not trying to get out of the Navy. I would like to get closer to home, based somewhere close to home. He said, "Where do you live?" I said, so I told him where I lived. And he said, "What base is close?" I said, "Probably Newport, Rhode Island." He said, "All right." And he pulled out a notebook and he wrote my name down, where I needed to go. And I said, "Thank you for listening to my story." He says, "You're quite welcome." I said, so I was on a ship that was one of the worst ships in the United States Navy. It was the NOAA. They had a collection of officers on that ship that were fucked up. They were just so screwed up. There was a couple of guys on there that were okay. There was a guy named Warren Aroko, who who was he understood what was going on. So I was on that ship for about 30 days. And one of the things we did was we had to go out and outrun a hurricane out of Mayport, Florida. And then after the hurricane went by, we came back in again. So anyway, when I got back to the ship, as I walked up the quarterdeck, one of the guys on the ship says, this is about 7 o'clock in the morning. What the fuck did you do? The old man's looking for you. And I said, oh shit. And the captain was a whack job. In fact, when we went out looking for the hurricane, looking to get out of the way of the hurricane, I had gotten from Chief Madison a couple of ball bearings. I had them in my pocket, and I took them out to that bridge. And I'm on watch with Warren Oroko, and I'm clicking the
Ball bearings.
ball bearings, just like the Kane Mutiny. In fact, on our ship it was orange juice. And the Kane Mutiny was strawberries. But that's how bad, that's what an asshole this guy was. So I'm sitting there at the wardroom table, and the word was out that the only person that could have any of this orange juice was the captain. Yes, sir. So, but I never got the word about stay away from the orange juice. So they said everybody like orange juice, and everybody turned orange juice down. And I said, yeah, I'll have some. And I got kicked under the table. Warren Oroko, my buddy. And I said, and all of a sudden I get the message, probably shouldn't do that. So I said, never mind, I'm all set, thank you. So that's what this guy was all about. He was nuts.
Jeez.
So anyway, I'm summoned to his cabin, his in-port cabin. So I go in. I said, you want to see me, sir? And he says, what the hell is the meaning of this? He's got a set of orders with my name on them. And the orders are to go from Mayport, Florida to Newport, Rhode Island aboard the Barcelona. And I could see what it was. It were orders from me. And it was from this nondescript person who sent the orders. So I thought, oh, Jesus. But, this is, I'm not sure how to handle this. So he was really pissed off that I was getting off of that ship and going to another ship. He says, who did you talk to get orders off of this ship? And I said, well, I talked to my detailer, who's the guy who decides what you're going to do, order-wise. So he says, he looks at me like I'm an asshole, and he goes, you see this? He's got 3 fingers up here. He says, you see this? I'm the captain of this ship. And this detailer you talk to is a lieutenant. In other words, it's just a scum. I figured I better defend myself right now, and I said, well, I also talked to the Undersecretary of the Navy. And he had his glasses on, he took his glasses and he put them off his face and he says, get out! I did. So, anyway, we had, I think it was, we were going to head out for the hurricane to get out of the way of that. I think that was about how it went. But I ended up going out, beating the hurricane, and coming back in. And when we were coming back in, I had taken my sea bag, I put everything in it that I owned, and I was ready to go. I was wearing whites, and I got down to the fantail, and everybody kind of got a message of what was going on here, except for a couple of real assholes. This one kid named Harris, he was a fucking jerk. And he wasn't very big. But I said to him, he had the quarterdeck watch, so as soon as we pulled in, he was the OD. And that's the guy that's got to sign your orders to make them official. So I'm standing there and I said, do you mind signing these so I can get ready to go as soon as we pull in? He looks at me and he goes, he says, I'll sign them after we get in. That's all I needed. I didn't like this asshole anyway. So I grabbed him here, under the arms, and I picked him up and I slammed him up against the bulkhead. And I said, you sign him or I will kill you right here. And the messenger of the watch is, they're waiting to take over the watch. And I looked at this kid who was the messenger of the watch, and he looked at me and he just walked around the deck house and away so he didn't have to watch any of this.
Right.
And when I let him go, he went all the way to the deck and he ended up in a pile. I said, you signed the fucking thing. And the orders are someplace at home. I think I still have them. And he signed them, and his hand was shaking while he was signing this. Because he was going to die, and I was going to kill him right there, and I didn't give a shit. So when we pulled up to the dock, we pulled in real close. I took my sea bag and I threw it onto the dock. And as soon as we got close enough, we weren't even tied up. We were just coming up to kiss the dock, and I jumped over the lines onto the edge of the ship. And when we got close enough to the dock, I jumped onto the dock, picked up my sea bag, and I was gone. I never looked back. And I went aboard the Barcelona, and that was the best thing ever happened to me. That ship was an awesome crowd.
Yeah.
It was the opposite of what I had been through with this bunch.